Hello everybody, today we will see in detail about process costing. That is, its meaning, cost of each process comprises of an example, followed by the format or the proforma of process account, what is normal and abnormal loss, followed by a simple problem on process costing. Meaning, process costing is a method of costing used in industries where the material has to pass through two or more processes for being converted into a final product. That is, a process costing system is a method typically used in order to determine the total production cost for each unit of the product. Now, while computing the cost of each process as seen in the previous slide, it comprises of the following. First one is the material cost, followed by the labor cost, which is nothing but the wages paid to the workers, and followed by the direct expenses, which includes depreciation of machinery, repairs, maintenance, insurance, etc. And then comes the production overheads, which includes all kinds of indirect expenses such as rent, light expenses or electricity, etc. Now, the organization is interested in finding out the cost of each process. A separate account for each process is opened and expenditure pertaining to a specific process is charged to that specific process account. Now, for example, let us take coffee production. So it involves the following various stages. First comes the plantation of coffee, followed by the harvesting of coffee beans, and then comes milling, which is nothing but cleaning and polishing the coffee beans. And then comes roasting, followed by grinding, which gives us the coffee powder, right? So now, at every process, a certain amount of cost is incurred, which is essential for us to calculate. Coming to the proforma or the format of process account, let's take process 1 account. So on the debit side, we have two material, which is nothing but the material that we put into in process 1, and all other expenses such as labor, overheads, and other expenses. And then comes to abnormal gain, which is calculated on the cost price. And then comes to profit on sale. On the credit side, we have by normal loss. Now here, the normal loss is calculated on the scrap value. By abnormal loss is calculated on the cost price as same as the abnormal gain. Now here comes by bank account. So this is nothing but the quantity which is sold immediately after process 1 that is transferred to this bank account, right? And then comes by process 2 account or by finished stock account. So here whatever is produced from process 1 is either transferred to the next process, which is process 2, or if this is the final process, then it is transferred to the finished stock account. Here again, this finished stock account is calculated on the cost price. Normal loss and abnormal loss. Normal loss is a part of the production process and it is accounted for in the cost of production, while abnormal loss is an additional cost incurred due to unforeseen circumstances. Abnormal loss may be unavoidable in specific situations, whereas normal loss can be minimized to some extent through process improvements. Now, for example, in a dairy production process, a certain percentage of milk is expected to evaporate or spoil, which is considered as normal loss. Similarly, a fire destroys a portion of the raw materials in a factory. Now, this is said to be abnormal loss since it is unexpected and it is not a regular occurrence. Coming to the problem. Product A is obtained after it passes through three distinct processes. Prepare process account from the following. 1000 units of materials at rupees 6 per unit were introduced in process 1. Production overhead is to be distributed as 100% on the wages. Now coming to the solution, process 1 account, we have 2 units produced, which is 1000 as given in the question, at rupees 6 per unit. So therefore 1000 into 6 we get 6000. To materials for process 1 it is 5200. To wages 4000. To production overheads, as it is said 100% on wages, we take it as 4000. And on the credit side we record the normal loss. Now in the question, normal loss is given as 5%. So taking the units introduced, that is 1000 into 5%, we get 50 units. And now the value of scrap per unit is given as 4 rupees. So 50 into 4 we get 200. Now totaling all these, we get on the debit side 1000 units and 19,200 as the amount. Now we subtract 1000 and 50 and we get 950. From 19,200 again we subtract 200 and we get 19,000. So now this is to be transferred to process 2 at rupees 20 per unit. So now how do we calculate this rupees 20 is that 19,000 divided by 950, we get 20. Coming to process 2 account, on the debit side we have the transfer amount from process 1 account, that is 950 units and 19,000 rupees. To materials 3,960, to wages 6,000, to production overheads 100% on wages, right? So again 6,000. And on the credit side we are supposed to record the normal loss. So here it is given as 10% for process 2 in the question. So 950 into 10%, we get 95 units. And the amount, it is calculated by value of scrap, which is 8 rupees, and so 95 into 8 we get 760 rupees. Now if we total this, we get 950 units and 34,960 in the amount column. But here in the question again, it is given as 840 units, which is to be transferred to process 3. But we get 840 and extra 15 units. So that 15 units is considered as the abnormal loss. So we transfer it to by abnormal loss account 15 units. And by process 3 account, as said, 840 again. So now the amount for abnormal loss is calculated using the following formula. Abnormal loss is equal to expenditure of the process minus normal loss value, the whole by input minus normal loss units, the whole again into abnormal loss units, which is equal to 34,960 minus 760 normal loss value divided by input 950 minus 95, that is normal loss units, the whole multiplied by 15 units of the abnormal loss. So after all the calculations we get 600, which is to be posted. Now that we've recorded 600 rupees for the abnormal loss amount, for the transfer we have 840 units. Again, by adding and subtracting we get 33,600 on the amount column. Now by process 3, that is transfer, at rupees 40 per unit is given, right? So this 40 is derived by dividing 33,600 by 840 units. Coming to process 3 account, to process 2, that is transfer 840 units, 33,600. To materials 5,924. To wages 8,000. To production overheads, since it is distributed as 100% on wages, again 8,000. And on the credit side we have normal loss, which is given as 15% in the question. So therefore 840 into 15%, we get 126. Now the value of scrap per unit is rupees 10. So therefore 126 into 10 is 1260. Now buy finished stock is given as 750 units in the question. Since this is the last process, we have to consider the finished stock, that is 750. Now when we add 840 and subtract 126 and 750, we get a balance of 36 on the debit side, which is nothing but the abnormal gain. So for the amount of the abnormal gain, we use the following formula. Abnormal gain is equal to expenditure of the process minus normal loss value, the whole divided by input minus normal loss units, the whole multiplied by abnormal gain units, which is equal to 55,524 minus 1,260, the whole divided by 840 minus 126 multiplied by 36 is equal to rupees 2,736. Yes, as calculated in the previous slide, to abnormal gain at 76 per unit. So how do we get this 76? It is nothing but 2736 divided by 36, we get 76, which is the abnormal gain per unit. And buy finished stock on the credit side is at 76 rupees per unit. So again, how do we get 76? It is nothing but 57,000 divided by 750, we get 76. Again, 57,000 is got by adding 33,600, 5,924, 8,000 and 8,000 plus 2,736 minus 1,260. Opening abnormal gain account, we will transfer the abnormal gain in process 3 account, which is on the debit side. Here it will come on the credit side, opposite side entry, right? So 36 units column and 2,736 in the amount column. Now, since it is abnormal gain account, in order to balance it out, we take it as loss, right? So to normal loss, that is nothing but the scrap value, which is 10 rupees. So the quantity, abnormal gain quantity 36 into the scrap, which is 10, that is 36 into 10, 360. And the balancing figure is transferred to costing profit and loss account, that is 2,376. 2,736 minus 360 is equal to 2,376. Similar to abnormal gain account, now we open abnormal loss account. So again, from process 2 account, we transfer the abnormal loss, that is carry down. Here it is brought down. 15 units, 600 amount. And by cash, so in the previous account, that is abnormal gain account, we took it as by normal loss in order to balance out the gain. But here, since it is already abnormal loss account, we take it as by cash. So 15 units and into the scrap value is 8. So therefore 15 into 8, we get 120 in the amount column. So the balancing figure is 480, that is transferred to costing profit and loss account. The last and the final account that we need to prepare is the normal loss account. So all the previous accounts that we've prepared, right, the process 1 account, process 2 account and process 3 account, as well as the abnormal loss and abnormal gain accounts, we transfer the normal loss entries. So to process 1 account, 50 units, 200 rupees. To process 2 account, 95 units, 760 rupees. To process 3 account, 126 units, 1,260 rupees. And on the credit side, on the abnormal gain account, we have calculated a normal loss entry, right? So that need to be transferred. By abnormal gain account, 36 units, 360 rupees. Now to balance out whatever we've done on the debit side, we write by cash. For process 1, it is 50 units and 200 rupees. For process 2, it is 95 units, 760 rupees. And for process 3, we have an abnormal gain. So we calculate 126 minus 36, which gives us 90, written on the units column. And 1260 minus 360, we get 900, which is written on the amount column. So therefore, it is prepared. Thank you.